Hi, and welcome to this month's edition of Chat with the Sheriff. I'm your sheriff for 2 more days, or 1 more day, or I might be already gone now by the time you're watching this, but your Sheriff Troy Dunn. And this will be my last show as your sheriff. So 33 and a half years, where has that time gone? Well, my whole career here in law enforcement started when I joined the Faribault Police Explorers when they started it in 1984. And for the next 3 years, I was a member of that. In 1986, I joined the Sheriff's Office as a special deputy, and I went to college at Alexandria Technical College. Right after graduation in 1988, I was hired by Crow Wing County Sheriff's Office, and that was my first licensed job in law enforcement. And I thought I'd never want to leave Crow Wing County. It was a great first job, learned so much in that 6 months I was up there. But like everything else, things change, and it was a full-time temporary position, so I came back to Rice County, got hired in Kenyon in October of 1989, where I worked as a patrol officer for 1 year. And again, only 15 miles from home. It was great being close, but it was a different feel, a different kind of law enforcement, small-town law enforcement, and I absolutely loved it. And then I was fortunate enough to get a call from Dave Schweistal in 1989 offering me a job to come to Rice County. And I took that opportunity and I ran with it. And so I started as a correctional officer in 1989, and in March of 1991 I was promoted to patrol deputy. And that's where I started back into law enforcement, the licensed side of things, and I worked my way up through the department. So some of the things I did in those years here in Rice County: not only a patrol deputy, I was a DARE officer for 8 years. I was a use of force instructor teaching chemical, baton, defensive tactics, firearms, and had a great time doing that. I loved being a teacher. I loved instructing. It was a great part of it. And the DARE officer position was a great thing. It was a sad way that I got into that position because one of my former deputies, fellow deputies, Charlie Aldorfer, passed away when he was at guard camp. And Charlie was our first DARE officer, so I had to take the reins in his absence. And I guess the rest is history, so to speak. But having to do that in 5 schools throughout the county was so much fun. And so many negative things that we see in this job in law enforcement, I was able to bring back some of those things and use those stories to help educate kids and say, this is why you don't want to use drugs. This is why you don't want to mess with these poisons, or this is why you don't want to get into a car with somebody that's been drinking, those kind of things. And it was a great time. I was able to join the SWAT team a few years later, and I started out as just a general operator, moved up to a team leader, was a crisis negotiator, assistant commander, and at my last 2 years as commander of the SWAT team. Again, a very dangerous part of the job, but yet was challenging. And I think that's why I like law enforcement, because there were so many ways it could challenge you. And you know, I think most people realize we don't go into these situations saying we want to hurt somebody, we want to shoot somebody tonight. Obviously that's not why we do it, but we have to be prepared that there's people doing evil things, and we need to protect not only ourselves but the communities that we support and we serve. And I was fortunate that I never had to, you know, use deadly force in my career. But the SWAT team was a great brotherhood, sisterhood, another different feel of law enforcement, and again, very rewarding. I was promoted to a supervisor, so I started out as a corporal and then a sergeant, and then in 2010 Sheriff Cook asked me if I would be willing to be his chief deputy when Bob Sletton retired. And so I took that step and served as Dick's chief deputy. And then a few months later, he also chose to retire at the end of the term. And so he said, if you're gonna run for sheriff, this is gonna be it. And it was probably about a 3 or 4 week window that I had to prepare to get ready and file for the sheriff. And in 2010, November 2010, I was chosen to be your sheriff. Thank you to all the voters that supported me. What a perfect way to end my career, serving as your sheriff for 11 years. So 33 and a half years, met a lot of people, worked with a lot of great people, not only locally, but throughout the state. And obviously I can't thank everybody, but I do have to say thanks to a few people that gave me help in getting to where I am today, even before I was in law enforcement. So my teachers back at the school, at Peace Lutheran, Trinity Lutheran, Jefferson, Faribault Junior High, Faribault High School. Awesome. Thank you for what you did. Alexandria Technical College, or as they called it, the Police Academy back then. That got me into the best shape I was ever in. And everything that I was taught was law enforcement related, and it really helped prepare me to start out in this career. Because it wasn't until 10th grade in career day at the Faribault High School that I chose that I was going to go into law enforcement. And so obviously, thank you to the instructors at the Police Academy. Those officers from Faribault and State Patrol in Rice County that took the time to take me on ride-alongs as a high school student. I got the nickname in school as TJ Hooker because they all knew I was going to be a police officer, so my fellow classmates nicknamed me TJ Hooker because of the show back then. For those younger people, you're going to have to Google that so you can see what it was all about. But Dave Stendrud, Dave was my FTO. Dave took me as when he was a deputy, took me on a few ride-alongs many times. He would pick me up when I would get done at work at Coolman's Amico and take me on a ride-along, help out at the fair with different things. But it's kind of funny. So I met Dave in high school, and then when I got hired with Rice County, Dave was one of my FTOs, field training officers, that taught me. And then when I was elected sheriff, I was able to ask Dave to be my chief deputy. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Jeff Casanda, Rich Watkins, Rod Lehman, Tom Ingram, just a few of the Faribault officers that took me on ride-alongs. Mike McLeod, Jerry Johnson, Larry Rosemullen even. There's a blast from the past for you. They took me on ride-alongs as well. Randy Jackson, another good friend of mine that was a police officer with Faribault, he took me on some ride-alongs and taught me many important things. And then the sheriff's office, like I mentioned, Dave was one of them, Charlie Aldorfer, Terry Hansen, and then of course Richard Cook, who was my predecessor previous to me. And I have to say thank you to him for taking me on those ride-alongs and teaching me as my sergeant how to be a good officer and the importance of ethics and everything else. So I'm very fortunate. And then I have to say thank you to Dave Schweistal for hiring me. Obviously, Dave's no longer with us, but his memory lives on here through the sheriff's office. His family, Robbie and Jan, still make donations to the Rice County Deputy Sheriff's Association, and we give out scholarships to law enforcement students, people wanting to go into law enforcement and corrections, and way of not forgetting him. So behind me here, if you haven't noticed already, is our memorial wall. And we lost 2 deputies in Rice County here. So we have Deputy Terry Hansen, who we lost in 1994, and Deputy John Liebenstein in 1996. I worked with both of them. And we never want to forget them. This is a very special place here at the Sheriff's Office. We do all of our swearing-in ceremonies at this wall, so we never forget these 2 because most people didn't work with these two heroes. But we never want to add another badge, another name to the wall, and we never want to have to retire another badge number. So we will never forget these two. All right, let's bring it back to some happy moments. Again, thank you to the Faribault community, Northfield community, all of Rice County, the towns of Morristown, Lonsdale, Nearstrand, Dundas, Millersburg, all of those people, all of those fire departments, all of those people that I've worked with, thank you. Believe me, I am excited for retirement, but I have a lot of good memories. And it's hard to say goodbye. So I might, excuse me, I might be leaving my hometown, my home county. But this is always where my heart will be. So thank you for everything, for your trust in me and the men and women that we serve with and that provide public safety to you. We truly appreciate your support and everything you do for us. Well, there's a few people I obviously want to thank that have helped me through the years, and some of the groups that I've worked with as well. So the Hope Center are there for the domestic violence and sexual assault victims. I've always been very thankful for what they do as a young deputy, working my way up through here, and then being fortunate enough to be asked to be on the board and to working with such great people that provide such an awesome service to our community throughout the county and even outside our county. Thank you to Erica and all of her staff for what they do. I want to thank the United Way, the Salvation Army, for what you do in our communities and how you support people in need and different programs. I was able to assist in so many ways there as well. Beyond the Yellow Ribbon, more recently, in the last 10 years, giving back to the veterans and their families and people that are serving our country. Thank you so much for all that you do, and thank you for letting me be a part of it. Mothers Against Drunk Driving, Safe Roads Coalition, Chemical Health Coalition, Family Services Collaborative, Rice County Mental Health, Rice County Chemical Abuse and Opioid Council. So many great people that have been willing to sit down and bring people together and work together instead of us all working in our own silos and doing our own thing and say, that's not your job, that's my job, and so forth. Sitting down and working with so many great people through the years has been awesome, and we are so fortunate to have those partnerships. All of the fire departments and the EMS that work, we do a lot of jabbing, back and forth, calling firefighters, hose draggers, and calling paramedics and EMTs ambulance drivers, but they really do a great job, and we are always there for one another. And you have to be, and especially in outstate Minnesota, where we don't have the unlimited resources that you see in a major metropolitan area. And Rice County is a busy county, right on I-35, just south of the metro. It's a lot busier than a lot of people think. Again, all of the associations I've been able to be a part of, sorry about that, and including the Minnesota Sheriff's Association, working with the 86 fellow sheriffs from across the state to bring great training and great service to our communities throughout Minnesota, and the National Sheriff's Association and the trainings that they provide us so that we can be the best well-trained officers for our community. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't thank all of my friends and family, the friends that have been there when I've had those tough days. And my son and wife for what they've done. Tara's put up with a lot, and has had to take second place for a lot of things because of my job. So, and I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have her and all of my family, my mom, my brothers and sisters, and everybody that supported me. I said I wasn't going to do this, but I'm going to get through it. But thank you. I feel loved. Thank my church for supporting us as well. You know, changed churches a couple times through the years, but without my faith and God protecting me and my family, I couldn't have been as successful as I am. So thank you to all of them. Thank you to you again for everything you've done. So let's transition to a happier part here. I'm retiring, and you need to meet the new chief deputy, or excuse me, he is currently the chief deputy, but soon to be the new sheriff. And so I'll be right back with Chief Deputy Jesse Thomas, soon to be your next sheriff. All right, folks, as promised, I'm introducing you to your next sheriff, Jesse Thomas. Jesse, thanks for joining me on my last show.
You're welcome, Sheriff. I'm glad to be here on your last show, and look forward to many more years as being the sheriff for Rice County. Tell you a little bit about myself. This started my 26th year with Rice County. I started out as a correctional officer in our jail in 1996. So worked my way up to patrol deputy and then to investigations. Spent 11 years on the SWAT team. Was a patrol sergeant on the road. And then in 2011, I was promoted to lieutenant. And in 2014, Sheriff Dunn asked me to be his chief deputy, and said absolutely. And tomorrow, or actually Friday, I'll be sworn in as your new sheriff. So look forward to working with you for many years, like I said, and feel free to give me a call if you have any issues.
Well, and thank you, Jesse, for taking the role over a little early, because I had expected to stay for this last term, and with changes obviously in my life, we made a decision to go a different way. But I'm leaving the department in great hands. The sheriff's office is in great hands with Jesse at the helm and everybody else that works for us and with us. And that, folks, I can't say enough how fortunate you are to have great men and women that serve in the role of public safety and all, no matter what color uniforms, but we are really, really fortunate to have great people here at the sheriff's office. And Jesse and I have been a big part of hiring people through the years, and we've had to do some, discipline and firings as well, and it's not easy, but we want the best for this community, and that starts with the men and women that serve, that wear that badge, that come out and are there when you call 911 or when you need help in the worst times. And so thank you for the support of law enforcement, of the sheriff's office, all public safety throughout the state. And wish you everybody the best. And I'm turning the reins over to you, Jesse.
Thank you, Sheriff Dunn. Appreciate it.
See you, folks. Stay safe.